Mark was doing shady journalism.
It's not shady journalism. Did I think it was going to get views? Of course. That's why we interview certain people. That's why you brought Dr. Umar here, right? Because you thought it'd get views. You didn't bring him because you didn't think it was going to get. You didn't do it to educate the public on the African-centered perspective. You did it because you thought it clicks. And that's the same.
In closing, you're not being sued.
No, I'm not being sued.
Oh, the story ain't fun no more now.
I am not being sued. You want me to be sued?
I'll tell you when your man gets sued. That's crazy.
No,
It's not funny when your man
Brian
gets
hits
sued.
me.
It's not funny when
you
your
got
man
him? You
gets
got him?
sued.
Let Brian hit me.
You got him?
Yeah.
Cool, because if I get sued for my comments here, I have to say that I was pushed to do this at the behest of my boss.
Mark Lamont Hill and Joe Budden clash, but it wasn't just Mark versus Joe Budden. Everybody was shooting at each other throughout this whole episode.
Gunfight.
So what was in the water when they went up to that studio? This was constant back and forths, sniping, shooting, and it was very passive aggressive. I don't even know what happened. It was aggressive. I don't even know what happened. So we're going to go through everything, and then we're going to break it down.
right.
So this episode was great. I felt like it was really enjoyable, largely because of the tension between all of the co-hosts. Now, the first big shot I want to highlight is when Joe and Mark are going back and forth about Dr. Umar and the lawsuit that Mark Lamont has with Brian McKnight, and this exchange where
He got a lawsuit with Brian McKnight.
We covered that. Remember they was beefing. He had said some greasy remarks about Brian McKnight, and Brian McKnight came and
like-
openly, responded.
Said, I'm going to take care of you, Mr. Lamont Hill. First of all, I'm tired of saying your whole last name. From now on, your name is Mark Hill.
Just Lamont.
No, just Lamont? All right.
Dr. Umar is brought up by Mark Lamont Hill because Joe was basically trying to take the stance that Mark Lamont Hill was clout chasing for even interviewing Brian McKnight. And Mark Lamont Hill was like, yo, y'all brought up the subject. And then I decided to expand on it in my Patreon by interviewing Brian McKnight's son and his estranged wife.
Yeah, he went
did
back
that.
and interviewed his son.
Yes, and the son was blowing it up.
And his
talking
son
about
was like calling him all kind of names.
and all that.
He was grown. He
My
got put
brother
out the
had
house.
passed away.
I got
and
it.
my dad
Mhm.
was, he spilled some personal business.
And let's not forget, Joe, how about that time you interviewed Dr. Umar? You didn't interview Dr. Umar for some altruistic purpose of getting Dr. Umar's message out there. You did it for the clicks and views. Now,
Right, that's
Joe
how we
would
all
make
do
a face where he
That's
was
how we
like,
all
what
do.
did you say? And he ain't have nothing to say in that moment, but I could tell that he wasn't feeling that just by the look he gave. I mean, you guys got to, if you listen to the audio, go back and watch the video. I mean, I put it in the video here so y'all can see what I'm talking about. And you will see that he was not feeling that at all. Now, as for the Brian McKnight lawsuit, I do think that that is a big deal because I feel like that is going to change how Mark Lamont Hill treats the Joe Budden podcast because he went in on Brian McKnight. I'm talking about he called him an a-hole. He said he was a bad person
Right.
and all of this other jazz. I mean, the clips are up on the channel. It's not like I'm saying anything that isn't real. But one thing that happened here as well is that he says that he's not being sued. And I was like, I saw the paperwork. It looked like you being sued, dog. And it did not look like AI. I mean, this paperwork was referencing specific episodes, and it even lists Mark Lamont Hill as a defendant. Now, he would go on and later admit that he didn't see the paperwork and he finally saw it, and it looks like he might get sued, but he needed to read it. But there was just a lot going on.
Oh, I
now,
might
Mark
get
Lamont
sued.
Hill was kind of the
Nigga, you know if you're getting sued or not.
Simple as that.
Did he just get served today?
Yeah, you got served.
center
You
of a
know
lot of
it.
the tension on the episode as well, as Joe would shoot at Ish and say that Ish is afraid of Mark Lamont Hill ever since the flat earth debate.
Mark always jump in and save Ish ever
all
since
the
that
time.
flat earth fight they had.
Look at you trying to push a narrative to your flunkies.
Yeah.
I know. It's cool. So ever since Tricky Words, you done swallowed your tongue.
So this is a narrative that ever lasts throughout the whole time of Mark and Ish's time on the show. Remember that Ish was kind of the know-it-all before Mark Lamont Hill arrived. He was always kind of cracking muffins, and that He was down to debate anybody. He would win a lot of the debates. But then when Mark arrived, he had to contend with somebody who might have been well researched, kind of read upon the things that he was debating. And Ish is not that. So every time they would clash, they would end up exposing the fact that Ish really isn't well read and is just talking from the seat of his pants. And Joe and Flip decided to put a magnifying glass on that dynamic. How now all of a sudden, if you watch the podcast, Ish does look to Mark to comment on certain subjects. And even when they go back and forth, Ish kind of gives this preamble of like, Mark, I'm not really, you my mans. You my guy. And
so it's just a minute. I'm not smart. Mark's smart. And
I just
like to sound smart. I'm learning.
Play my position.
He learning. He's an apprentice Lamont Hill.
Who Ish?
Yeah, changed Ish name to apprentice Lamont Hill.
Lamont. It's not Lamont Hill.
It's not the Ish that we used to see, right? Ish used to really shoot at everybody indiscriminately. He would bark on dudes. His exchanges with Mark Lamont Hill is not the same. Yes, they disagree about certain things, but I think Ish is more cautious about going in on Mark Lamont Hill the way he does Joe or Flip because he knows he can be made to look stupid, and he does not want to look stupid in front of the audience again like he did with the Flat Earth debate. But this wasn't the only thing that happened. Mark Lamont Hill, during this whole exchange between Ish, Mark, Flip, and Joe, he starts to take shots at Flip and Joe, right? He calls Flip and Joe one and a possible, and he even does this analogy where he says that, like if Joe and Flip were to get at me, I'm not even going to respond to Flip.
Anton Daniels and Brian McKnight are having a conversation, and Brian McKnight says something. It would be like if you and Flip had a conversation, and y'all both said something about me. I'm not talking to the possible. Whatever possible shit, it's possible that you back down. That's good.
And he's likening that to the Anton Brian McKnight issue where he responded directly to Brian McKnight, but did not address Anton. Then Ish also says that, Flip, you saying that I was quiet after the Flat Earth debate, but how about that time you got quiet after the tricky words debate? So stop talking like that, you cheerleader. He literally called him a cheerleader.
Mona was saying how he always used the tricky words. He said that Mona said to Mark Lamont Hill something about he always used tricky words, and then the word he was using was not very tricky. I think it was something like establishment or something.
And
he said, "Yo, you need your
palms." Flip said that was tricky.
Yeah.
Palms. You need a pleated skirt because you out here riding for Joe indiscriminately. And I do kind of see that, like, Flip does always latch on to Joe. I think he's the most boisterous. And to be quite honest, I feel like, it's hard to win a debate against Mark unless you got Joe on your side on the podcast. So I see what he's doing there. Now, this episode, once again, was filled with contentious shots. And it revealed kind of the fabric of the show. It revealed the show at its best when there's, thoughtful dialogue. There's the Drake internet whole thing, and even Parks got loud and Flip got loud. And I was like, oh wow, look at Flip checking Parks with the COE.
I don't care what their opinions are. Who are they? Who are they?
They move the needles. Sorry, y'all live in La La Land. They move the needles.
I don't live. I live in the real fucking world.
This is put out in the internet, and this makes a lot of money because of the internet. It moves the needles. Enough with the internet. Enough with the internet. You can't say internet.
I can say fuck the internet opinions all day.
All these people, they're the people that purchasing the product.
So this was a fascinating show, and I wonder what happened. Like, was Joe upset? Because sometimes I can't help but think, like, Mona just be missing episodes of the pod, and she be going out and chilling with the Black Effect Network. She just did a episode of a Black Effect Festival podcast or something live.
Yeah, I heard they had the big festival for them. The assumption was, and Charlemagne gave an invite to Joe Budden, like, yo, come through. I guess Joe didn't come himself. He was like, fuck that. You already got Mona.
What's up? We're going to get right to it. I am Don't Call Me White Girl from the Don't Call Me White Girl podcast, and this is my man.
And I'm like, yo,
Jamal go down there with
it's
her.
wild.
He been rolling with her. Not Lord Jamal, our Jamal. Little little big headed be with Mona.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I wanted it to go down there.
Maybe.
How Joe literally pays people from the podcast, but they be the first to fly out and go do stuff for Charlemagne. Even Ish is going to the Black Effect Festival. So
down there, yo.
This is kind of fascinating to me. I don't think Joe likes it. I think Joe pretends to be cool with everybody riding with Charlemagne, but it seems like everybody would love to leave the show and do stuff with Charlemagne. Crazy stuff.
Wow.
Now, one thing I want to talk about that I mentioned, the iHeart Charlemagne cabal, is that they're saying Sirius is about to buy iHeart, or iHeart is about... Yo, this article...
We're going too far left, but they're going deep baseball on this. But yeah, if you want to see more of that, you can go to The Stop, and it's called Mark Lamont Hill. This is Joe Buttons and take shots at Flip in a heated episode. Anyway, this is our final story of the evening. Y'all ready?